the Scottish Government, successive Scottish governments, have referred legal issues arising out of verdicts to the Scottish Law Commission on numerous occasions. And this is what...
Forgive me, have they not referred in terms of a body of verdicts, if you like, that show that the extant law is perhaps not in tune with modern times, but they haven't referred as regards one particular verdict, have they? I mean, just one particular verdict. And I think that's the point Mr. Don was making.
They certainly have referred matters to the Scottish Law Commission which have given rise to concern, or which have been brought to public concern through a particular court decision.
I can't,
I'm afraid, offhand, think of one, but there have been such cases.
Yes, it would be handy to have that information, Professor.
Okay. Could I have Robin, followed by Anne. Could I have an indication, are there any other members of the committee who want to speak before I invite Christine to speak? Robin and then Anne.
Thank you, Convener. Bill Butler's question has elicited the answer that well, not quite the answer I was looking for, but it's covered the question.
Thanks. Anne?
Like my colleague Nigel Dawn, I didn't really know much about this before today. I've been invited to film screenings and various talks about it and never been able to make it. So I too feel much better informed now, having read through the stuff and listened to you. What I'm wondering is two things. And I'd like somebody here to play devil's advocate, if you like, and tell me why some members of the legal profession, what they might argue, what their argument might be against doing this or against the need to do this. And also you explained very well, Dr Swire, the two initial problems that the Scottish Government have come back with. But can you maybe speculate on why, if you believe that this is, I think somebody said it was a stain on Scotland's legal system, and this will enhance, it will change our reputation, enhance it if we do this, why would a Scottish Government, what reason could they have for not wanting to do it if that is the case? So I'm just really trying to get a bit of balance into the argument for my own information. Anybody?
I wonder if I could just a quick point, and it's not a legal point, but
I'll have to declare my interest as well and say that I have met Iain McKie in a previous life.
Okay, but we're not playing that past association at all. But on a matter of fact, in the 14 years in which my daughter fought for justice in Scotland and was helped greatly by the Parliament itself, we came across the Crown Office and we came across the Justice Department. Now, I'm sorry, these two organisations were heavily implicated in Lockerbie, and everything that happened after that as far as I'm concerned, will stop anything happening about Lockerbie. And they are the problem in this. What we're hoping this committee will do is go further afield than that. And I know that would happen, and you won't just stop there. So I think we need to look at all these things. But I see the Crown Office and the Justice Department as stopping any such inquiries. They tried to stop the inquiry into my daughter's case and were unsuccessful in it. And again, it was back to yourselves. It was, I think, Parliament at the end of the day that took this through. So I see the Crown Office and the Justice Department as real issues in this, because they were heavily implicated in Lockerbie itself, deeply implicated in Lockerbie. And it's just gone on and on and on for years. And what I think Lockerbie did, it set a certain tone for justice in Scotland, and I don't think it was the right tone. I think it's time for openness and accountability in the Crown Office and in the Justice Department, for disclosure of information to defences. I think this inquiry would help us get a justice system that I believe we deserve, and would, I think, reduce the power of civil servants in these organisations. The politicians make the decisions, not them.
Could I add something briefly to...
Yes. If it could be brief, because I am keen to be able to bring Christine Graham in as well.
We did make an initial approach, of course, to the Scottish Government, and we were turned down. We have now come back with in excess of 1,600 individuals, far and away the largest group in that 1,600 plus are Scots, electors. And I think we now have this cohort in Scotland, and indeed we also have 33 other nationalities represented, who are saying this is something to be addressed. And I think, as a matter of honour, and to, as Dr Swire has already mentioned, to lift the stain over our justice system, which we were very proud of before this affair, and it's clearly done, well, hopefully not irreparable damage to it. We owe it to the people of Scotland and to people in the international community to do something about this. And this is why we have come back with this petition in the hope of persuading the Parliament and the Government to institute an inquiry under its auspices, an independent inquiry. May I also say that in our dealings with the Government, they have as yet failed comprehensively to provide any, to cite any current UK legislation to justify their position in terms of rejecting our appeal for an inquiry. In contrast to that, JFM has at all times given chapter and verse references to case-hardened UK legislation. And we would very much appreciate it if this appeal for an inquiry happens to stumble and fall at some hurdle during its process through the various stages it must go through here in Holyrood. If it does fall, we would be most appreciative if those who are responsible for reaching that decision that it go no further do us the favour and provide us with references to current UK legislation which identifies precisely for us which legislation is being referred to justify any further progress that that this petition for an inquiry could make. Of course, we doubtless have much to learn in terms of how the law may be interpreted, and I'm sure this is an ideal opportunity for the Government or indeed the Parliament to demonstrate to us precisely where we are lacking.
Thanks very much. Can I at this stage welcome Christine Graham to the Public Petitions Committee and invite Christine Graham to make a statement.
Right, sorry, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions, short questions, and thank you, Convener, for letting me in, because I declare an interest as being part of the campaign. I mean, many people would say to the panel that Abdelbaset Ali Mohmed had his chance. He had an appeal that could have run after his death. And really, it's a nonsense to be digging for inquiry when the man dropped his appeal. And you may want to comment on the dropping of the appeal. And I'd ask Father Keegan, because you haven't said anything yet, Father Keegan, you know, the people of Lockerbie must be heart-sickened that every time this comes up, Lockerbie comes up, and it's now never going to get, you know, shed of this, the ghost, as it were, of that terrible atrocity. And I wonder what comments you might have from your contacts in Lockerbie for them. So there's really two about he had his chance and Lockerbie itself.
Well, first of all, to do with Lockerbie and the people of Lockerbie, not just them, but the people of Scotland and people internationally have never found a full answer to Lockerbie. And this will always be a source of great distress. There is doubt, not just in Lockerbie, not just in Scotland, but in many, many other countries, about the conviction which has been mentioned. Severe doubt. So much so that the top person in the Catholic Church and a very eminent person in Scotland, Cardinal Keith O'Brien, has come out strong in support after much deliberation. Not in the spur of the moment, but after much deliberation. And one of his key points that he made was not just justice for the victims and their families, but the redemption, if I may use that word, the redemption of the Scottish justice system. So that is a very, very strong point. We have been denied justice from the very beginning. We are very doubtful. I personally have always said that I'm very, very doubtful about the conviction of Abdelbaset Ali Mohmed. I've always stated that, and I always will. Well, doubt remains. The victims have been denied justice because he was convicted of conspiring with others to bring down Panam 103. Where are the other conspirators? Where are those who, with him, if he is guilty, brought down Panam 103? As regards to him dropping the appeal, I don't know the background to how that happened. I'm sad the appeal was dropped because it contains so much that would have been of value, not just to him, and to probably or possibly overturning of his conviction, but would have been of value to the families and to the victims, because what we need is clarification. What we need, in fact, is the truth concerning Lockerbie. And so far, we have been denied that. In fact, we could say that obstacles have been put in our way by the Crown Office, by the judiciary concerning Lockerbie. There seems to be some sort of desire to put the lid on this and to keep it there. We are asking for a simple thing, that the Government of Scotland looks at the real concerns of this continuing wound that exists in the families, and all have suffered because of Lockerbie, because everyone involved with Lockerbie, those who died, their families, and all who are part and parcel of the community, which seeks a justice system which looks after the community. We need the truth and we need justice to allow ourselves to be at peace. Otherwise, we're still back on December the 21st, 1988, in the darkness.
I don't know if Professor Black else wants to comment on the dropping of the appeal, which I think is pretty crucial to why you're looking for an inquiry now.
Madam Convener, if I may say so, I'm the only person here who's met Mr McGrahi at all recently. I met him about a month or 6 weeks ago. It seemed to me that he felt ashamed at having dropped his appeal. I don't have the information to tell you why he dropped his appeal. He was visited by several entities during his last weeks in his prison cell. What I can tell you is that I think he was feeling ashamed because he knew that I, as a representative of the relatives, believed that his second appeal to the High Court here would cause a re-evaluation of the verdict against him, and that he and I both felt that that re-evaluation would almost certainly lead to the overturning of the verdict. So he felt ashamed that he'd withdrawn it. I had to tell him that I felt ashamed. Why should I feel ashamed? Because I worked for years to get this man in front of Scottish Justice. I now believe that Scottish Justice's verdict on this man is not safe. It must be re-examined, and until it is, the name of Scottish Justice will lie in the gutter, and the recovery from that position, I believe, can only take place if we, in our country, do something to look again at this, and that is the basis, of course, of this petition. And I'll just finally say, Madam Convener, it's been pointed out, I think, by Robert Black, that the conviction of McGrahi is used by others as a reason for doing nothing. I would like to back up that comment. It infuriates me to hear the British Prime Minister say, the man who caused the Lockerbie disaster, blah, 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 blah. He doesn't seem to consider it significant that a large cohort of highly qualified lawyers have now looked at the material relevant to this case, come to the same conclusion as I as an amateur and Professor Black as a professional have come to, namely that this conviction should not have been achieved on the basis of what was led in that court. I could talk at length about why that is so. You'll be relieved to hear I'm not going to do so. But I do strongly reinforce the position that those who have been at this, and no one's been at it longer than Pat Keegans, because of some of the debris very nearly killed him and his mother on that dreadful night. He knew about it before even I knew about the death of my daughter. We all need to get horrible American word closure on this. And one of the things, if I may revert to talking about Christianity again, one of the things that Christians are supposed to be able to do is to love and forgive their enemies. I don't know who my enemies were, because I'm satisfied that this man was not involved. I think I know who was involved, but I don't think I see a means by which getting to that part of the truth can be achieved. But I'm so sad to see Scottish Justice's name dragged down by this case, because